All right, so this past Monday and Tuesday, I got the great honor of heading down to Atlanta and meeting with the Georgia Department of Education and to discuss what is now known as our Ga Milestones assessments system. And I wanted to come back and talk to you specifically about social studies. We've had a general intro to the milestones, and hopefully I'll be able to kind of go over some of that with you, give it the general, and then it gets specific. It gets more specific to social studies as we go. These were the people in charge of testing. I don't know if you care about this, but Dr. Fincher was there speaking to all this stuff. This is actually from her PowerPoint. And then these people kind of went around. I'll tell you a little bit about the process, what we did. It involved, for me, econ more than anything, but it worked the same for the guys down the hall in U.S. history. What a bunch of clowns. They just invite people from around the state, and you can see them on the elevator and stuff. The U.S. history guys are jumping up and down on the 23rd floor for some reason. Those are the kind of guys reviewing the questions that are going to be potentially on these tests. But everybody that I worked with down there seemed to be. Shauna wouldn't stop by. She was a social studies testing person. She stopped in and just sat down and talked, and she talked very frankly about all this kind of stuff. So they're trying to make it where it's just one complete comprehensive exam from the time a kid enters Georgia schools to the time they leave. All they take are milestones. At the lower grade levels, they're going to be called into grades. You're aware up here at this subject specific, they're in the course minus the old T. So all these assessment tools are going to be designed to kind of be more related. One of the things they talked about and trying to do here, and I can email this to you too, is trying to be consistent across grades and so forth until they get up to the national test. And in some way try to give us a way of predicting how these students are going to do there. The other part would be the reading, the writing, and so forth. They wanted to put in the constructed response in social studies this year. They got real ambitious and then had to dial that back a little bit. And we will not see constructed response in the social studies yet. So here's what you got in the early grades, here's what you got in the high grades, and what we're concerned about is going to be the social studies, so U.S. history and econ. Okay, and inclusion of constructed response. So what this is about some of the, how the testing works, norm reference versus some of the criterion reference, and I'll speak to that in just a second. When you see these little boxes, these tend to be some of the more important parts. We're mostly moving to online type of test, and is this thing even working? No. Doesn't work?
Yeah, turn on the.
Yeah. So they're going to be using when they say criterion reference, what they mean are the standards are aligned to the tests are aligned to the standards, and those are the only questions that are going to be used to judge the kids and judge the teachers eventually. As you've heard, they've talked about growth, performance type things. They're not going to, what the other questions are going to be used as norm reference questions are going to be utilized mainly to kind of see how we're doing against other states. How are our kids comparing across state? And if any of those norm reference questions that happen to be on there align to our standards, they'll use them. They'll use them that way. But that's the end of that. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Kind of click ahead. The other transition that we're getting to is online. We're already doing this. This was for the benefit mainly of some of the people from around the state. They're trying to say that, I think it's at the elementary schools where they have more trouble convincing the districts to go online. And what this is a district requirement. District requirement by year 5. And this is, again, I think ambitious, but this is what they've plotted out. So next year they want 30% online. That doesn't mean that, if our 3 high schools are all online and elementary schools can remain on 30%, they want at least one online exam in all the schools, just so you know, if you've got children in our schools or what our kids are going to be experiencing along the way up, they'll be used to this by the time they get to us. Someone else is on one of these things? Might be the problem. So you'll have some links you can look at their online platform. This is already emailed to us, if you recall. I think Ms. Warfield sent this out to me. I looked at it. It was just like the platform they're going to use to assure. What they're trying to do is keep some of the people from panicking about this stuff. It's a pretty easy platform. I'm going to show you some of the features as we move ahead here. The other panic people have is that my kid, they'll have people say that their students don't do as well online. The data shows that students do better online. Right? If you're looking at this kind of thing, you're seeing that the online results are higher than the pen and paper and pencil results. I immediately thought, well, the districts that have paper and pencil are probably some of your less well-off districts, and that might be the reason for this. She, like she read my mind, spoke to that and said, we've got enough data from higher level higher socioeconomic districts and lower socioeconomic districts to say that this still aligns. So she spoke to that little critique and still stuck to this. They're very defensive about the online aspect of the exams. And I don't know why. That would have been my question to them. Why are they so defensive? And I think, just trying to think about why, I'm thinking it's for expediency of results. I'm thinking it's for lower costs for the state. I'm thinking it's that kind of thing. You know how much easier it is to get a test back graded like that than it is, say, paper and pencil, scanning it through machines, transporting the paper, all that stuff. These are some of the tools they'll have. You're probably familiar with most of this stuff. These will be accessible by all students, so they aren't considered modifications or accommodations, rather. Scratch pad. You will be able to issue scratch paper in the first year, so they, just to ease some results. Also the calculator. They're worried about some of these tools malfunctioning in the first year. Here's what the calculator would look like. We've seen these in econ. We've been online in econ and Newton High for at least 5 years. So we've seen this stuff. Our standards don't require calculations, but students sometimes feel like they do. They feel like questions do. So they like to have a calculator. In the first year, again, they'll be allowed to bring one in. They'll be allowed to use one. Just so you know, for the more advanced math, if you have to cover a math exam, for instance, you'll see this will be accessible. But in the first year, they'll be able to bring one in. Or this guy, the TI 84 plus special there. General test parameters. I just put this is all for high school. If you're concerned about social studies, which most of us are, very similar. They have changed the administration times. It seems like it used to be 40 minutes was a minimum, and if you've given this before, then you have to allow that minimum time to pass before. Even if everyone's done, you have to let the minimum pass. And then you have this maximum time here. And this isn't the kind of thing where you run and tackle a kid if he's still really working and tell him to put away. This is a parameter to say